Give me that funk. Give me that funk. Talk of the town. Good morning.
All right, sweetie. Now, I know that this could be like a difficult topic, obviously, but there has been so much in the news about R. Kelly, young girls, girls who are in his home, and things like that. And we got an email from you about how you had an experience kind of similar to some of the stories that have been coming out.
Right.
So if you could, I would really like you to walk me through the process. So the where's, why's, how did this come about that you were ever in contact with R. Kelly?
Okay, so I used to work at the mall, Pentagon City. The mall was closed, and a coworker, she had went to go take out the trash, and she came back and she told me that she saw R. Kelly, and I'm like, no, you didn't, like, couldn't have. So she was like, yes, I did. I saw him. I promise you, I saw him. So we closed down the store. We left. We went to it was another store that had stayed open for him, and we went there. And we asked the guy that was working there, you know, is R. Kelly coming in? And he was like, yeah, he's here, he's coming. So we're like, okay, well, we work here now, so, because we want to meet him. So he was like, okay, that's cool. So then he was like, as a matter of fact, his security guard is right there outside of the, you know, store. So we went out to talk to his security guard. He wouldn't speak to us. He wouldn't even look at us. So we're like, we're not going to touch him. We just want to say hi, this and the third. And he still wouldn't say anything to us. So we were standing, you know, next to him. And then he says, oh, well, there he is right there. And he was walking in from the parking garage. So we were walking and talking to him, me and my coworker. He was asking where he was. And he was also telling us about his show that was going to be in Baltimore the next day. And then after that, I mean, it was really a short conversation. And he asked her name. She told him. He asked my name, and then he was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Yeah." So he shook my hand, and he put something in my hand. So I just played it cool. We walked back to the store. I opened up my hand, and it was his phone number. So me and my coworker are in the store, like screaming, going crazy, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that this just happened." Exactly. But what made it weird was like it was already written down.
Like he had it.
He had it.
He was ready.
Yeah. So, I called my sister. That was the first person I called. She's like, "No, you didn't." I was like, "Yes, I did." She was like, "Call him right now." I call him. It went to voicemail. So I sent him a text, a reminder.
Voicemail's him. Voicemail's just the phone
voicemail
number.
was voicemail mailbox not set up yet.
Got it.
So then, at that point, I texted him to remind him who I was, and I told him that I really wanted to go to his show the next day. So he texted me back and he said, "Call Daddy." So
I'm sorry. Circle back.
Okay.
The response. So this is all in text messages.
Right.
And you said you want to see the show. And his response is,
"Call Daddy."
As in him.
Yes.
So he's Daddy.
Yes.
Just to be clear. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. So do you call Daddy or do you not call Daddy?
I call him.
Okay.
I call him, and again it rings, and then it goes to mailbox not set up. So I'm like, okay, so whatever. So I'm like, at this point, I had saved his number in my phone and everything. So me and her, we were just, you know, chilling, sitting there. This is the exact same night, and my phone rings, and it was him. And he just told me, he was like, I want you to come to my show tomorrow. I'm gonna invite you and a friend, and you can come backstage. I was like, perfect. He was like, you're gonna get a call from someone in the morning, and they're gonna get your name, your information, and then let you know that your tickets will be in will call. So I was like, okay, cool. So at this point, I told my sister about it again. So she's like, Mercedes, she's like, if we drive all the way out Baltimore and this is not
gonna happen,
she was like, I'm gonna hurt you.
Right.
So I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, this is real. Like, all
so his sister come with you?
Yes, my sister came with me. We get there, and my tickets are in will call, and one of the ushers walks us to the front. We were like in third row. We got on stage. As far as like towards the end of his concert, he does like the step in the name of love, and then like the people who are closest can go on stage. So we got on stage with him, and then afterwards, I was ready to go. My sister, she's like, call him. Then he said we can go backstage. I said, yeah, but you know, I don't.
He wasn't really pressed.
Right, because at this point I'm like, he just got off stage. I doubt that he's going to answer my phone call if I call him. So I called. He answers. He said he's going to send someone out to get me and my sister and bring us backstage. Someone comes out, get us, brings us backstage. We go into, it looked like a dressing room. It wasn't his dressing room. It was just like a little separate room in the back. And we're just sitting there waiting for him to come in. We waited for probably like 15, 20 minutes. He comes in, he talks, like my sister, she was on the phone with her friend, telling her friend.
Like the play-by-play.
Yeah, this is what's about to happen. So he walks in, she screams, and it's like, oh my God. And he's like, oh no, baby, don't do that, you know. And then he actually had like a nice conversation with us, told us that anytime he has a show, we're invited, just give him a call. And that was the end of that conversation.
Okay, all normal.
All normal, all normal. Okay. Very down to earth, very nice, normal. So that was 5 years prior to me meeting him in his home in Atlanta.
Okay.
So eventually I had a child, and I'm sitting in my room and I'm holding my baby, and I get a random text message from him saying, I want you to come to daddy. And I was like, I can't do that. You know what I mean? I was like, not right now. I said, maybe we can make plans some other time, whatever. He never responded back. So then probably about 2 years later, he hit me up again randomly. Randomly. And okay. I felt special because he had my number. Like, I'm like, yeah. Okay, like this is crazy.
And years have passed, so obviously you're like, okay, this,
right.
He's keeping in contact.
Right. Because I would send him like little text messages or pictures, but he wouldn't respond. And if he did respond, it would just be like something short like, hey, baby, or that's it. Or like a little kissy face or whatever. And then I was at the gas station one day, got in the car, got a random text message from him again, said he wanted me to come to Atlanta. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm gonna come. So I spoke with him on the phone this time. He gave me a phone number, and he told me to text this person. They will handle my flight, my hotel, and everything. He said, but do not call them, only text them. I'm like, okay, cool. I text the person, they set up my flight and everything, hotel.
Again, all through text messages.
All through
no
text
phone
messages.
contact.
No.
Besides that.
Yes.
Okay.
So they set up everything. I get to Atlanta. They sent me an Uber. I get to the hotel, and they tell me. I text R. Kelly, let him know I'm there. No, matter of fact, I called him, and he actually answered the phone. And I told him I was here. He said, okay, you know, I'm busy tonight, so I'll see you tomorrow. I said, okay, cool. Then I got woken up to a text saying that a tracker, Mercedes-Benz tracker, will be there in 15 minutes to come get me, so be ready. I'm like, okay, cool. At that time, I didn't even know what a tracker was.
Right,
I'm like, okay, cool. So I get ready. They told me I couldn't have my cell phone.
But you couldn't have
I could not have my cell phone.
Okay.
But I still had to bring my purse with me.
Yeah.
So I had my cell phone in my purse.
Right.
I get into the tracker. The driver, he takes my purse. He puts it up front with him. And then I still had my phone on me. So we get to his house, and I sat out front of his house for probably about an hour.
Just sitting?
Just sitting there.
Okay. And at this point, is there any contact with him, or it's literally just the wait game?
Just the wait game.
Okay.
So I'm waiting. I'm in the tracker. I'm taking pictures of his house, of anything I could take pictures of to prove to my friends, like, this is what happened.
Right.
And the only person I told was my best friend.
Okay, so at this point, you're in the tracker. It's been about an hour. You're sitting outside. You're taking photos, even though you're not supposed to be taking photos because they told you not to.
Right.
But of course. And then what happens?
So then, after waiting for an hour, the guy that was driving the bus, he comes back and get me. At this point, I'm excited because I'm like, I'm about to walk through the house, this and the third. No, he takes me around back. Takes me around back to the basement. I go into the basement, and he takes me to a room where R. Kelly is. They're like, they look to be businessmen that he was talking to. He was having a meeting, and he gave me a hug, and he told me that he'll see me in a little bit. And I said, okay, fine. So from that point, they sent me to the studio, still in the basement. Okay. I'm in the studio for another hour. I'm taking pictures still because he had like a couch down there that was like all Gucci. It was like a black Gucci leather couch, like wrapped around the studio. So I'm taking pictures of everything I can. I believe it was his cousin and his engineer person that was in there, and I was just listening to the music that they were mixing up. So after waiting, he comes and gets me from the studio, and we go into another room. We're still in the basement.
So this whole time, everything is happening in the basement.
Yes.
Okay, correct.
So the room that he takes me in at that point is like a living room type of situation with a bar, whatever. And he was watching CNN. And I'm like, you watch this? He's like, yeah, I got to keep up with the news. You know, he was real cool,
Make
down
sure
to
he
earth.
ain't on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
So he's asking me about my life and everything. He asked me if I was into music, and I was like, no. He said, do I have any family that's into music? I was like, no. Everybody's pretty
Do you
normal.
think there was a reason why he asked about the music connection?
Well, right then and there, I'm thinking he probably thought I had like, I was visiting him for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my only thought right there.
Yeah.
Like he thought that I wanted to meet him because I had some type of music talent, or
Right.
I want to put some family members on or something like that.
Okay.
But that wasn't the case.
Right.
So after that, we're sitting there, and he asks me. He tells me. Then the conversation just go left, like real quick.
Quickly.
So he was like, I want you to take off your clothes. I want you to keep on your heels, and I want you to walk back and forth in front of me. Okay. So that's what I did. I walked back and forth in front of him.
Like how many times back?
Probably
and forth?
about like 3 or 4.
So like you're modeling.
Right,
Okay.
right. So from that point on, he asked me to sit down with him. So I sit down with him. I'm giving you the whole details of this too?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're comfortable, don't worry. I got you covered.
Okay. So he asked me to sit down with him.
Mm-hmm.
I sit down, and he was like, I'm going to show you how Daddy likes it. And I'm like, okay. So at this point, I'm thinking like sex.
Mm-hmm.
But he lays down on his back, and he opens his legs, and he tells me to put my fingers in his butt.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I don't think that's gonna work because like my nails are really long.
You do have really long nails. Okay, that's a logical.
So,
that's a logical thought
right.
process.
So I was like, he was like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna show you how Daddy likes it. So from that point on, he's laying on his back. I did it, and at that point, he's jerking himself off.
Okay.
And it probably was like for like good 10, 15 minutes.
Meanwhile, is your hand just sitting there?
No, it is penetrating his butt.
Got you.
Right.
Okay.
And he's not only that, he's helping me with the motion while he's jerking off.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it was probably about 10 or 15 minutes that went on. And from that point on, he's like, come on, let's go back in the studio. I'm like, okay. So we go back in the studio. First, I was sitting behind his engineer station, and he had went into the booth.
Mm-hmm.
And then he told me to come in the booth with him. He had something to drink. He was smoking a cigar. He was just chilling. And I was just as close to him as I am to you right now, because the booth was really small. So it was just like, I was just amazed at the same time, because I was sitting here like listening to R. Kelly like mix his music and like right in front of me. So we're sitting there, and then he kept messing with his phone or whatnot. And then he says, yeah, Daddy wants you to meet your sister. So I'm playing it off, I'm playing it cool, right? So I'm like, okay.
Wait, let me stop you for a second.
Okay.
Do you have siblings?
Yes.
At this moment, do you think in any way, shape, or form he's actually referring to your actual siblings?
No.
So you're like, okay, I know he's not talking about my siblings.
Right.
But I'm in this situation now, and I'm okay. I'm just going to say.
I'm just going to go with it.
All right. And then what happens?
So then I said, okay. So then like about like 10 minutes later, a young lady comes downstairs. And when he told me I was going to meet her, I'm expecting like some girl that's like a video vixen or something like that. Like, I don't know what type of women he date, but I was just expecting somebody like someone you see on the videos.
Instead, what did you see?
She was a regular looking girl like myself. She looked a little bit younger than me. And she had her phone, and she was on Instagram, and she was just chilling. When she did come downstairs, he was like, baby, this is your sister. She gives me a hug.
She just went with it all.
Yeah. She seemed comfortable. She seemed as if she comes there on a regular basis. That's what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And because she
possibly lives there?
Possibly lives there, because she had on like a pink sweatsuit
mm-hmm.
outfit type of thing, and she didn't have on no shoes or anything. Like, she was chilling, like she was comfortable. And then at that point, she gives me a hug, and we sit down and we continue on listening to him do his music. He's still smoking his cigar. She picks up his cigar, smokes it, and I'm like, can I smoke it? And she was like, oh, you have to ask him.
Oh.
Right. So I was like, okay, right. So I'm like, okay. So I asked him. He was like, go ahead. So at that point, we're just all chilling. She's on her phone, and then she tells him that her mom is coming to pick her up. And he's like, okay. And then we continue on sitting there while he was doing his music. And then she says her mom is outside. She's about to go. And he said, oh, she outside? She was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, I'll see you later. And he had left as well when she left. Mm-hmm. And then he came back downstairs. I stayed for about another couple hours, while he was doing his music. And then he told me he had to go. So he'll have to send me back to my hotel room, but he'll see me tomorrow. Okay. So I'm all like shook up about this whole situation. Like it got weird, and then it was like great at the same time. But I'm like, oh my God. So I contact the person that he told me to only text as far as for my traveling purposes. And I told them that I wanted to go home the next day. And they set up everything, and they allowed me to go home the next day.
Now, I remember you saying something about one of the guys at the hotel was like, oh, this was just like a regular thing. And he had said something about, look outside, I guarantee you there's another tracker out there.
Yes. When I first got to the hotel, me thinking I'm going to see him that day, I didn't. So I was in a hotel room all day by myself. I ended up becoming close friends with the guy that was working downstairs at the desk. Mm-hmm. And we went outside to smoke. And behind the hotel I was staying at was another hotel. And I was telling him about, what I'm here for and what I'm doing. And he was like, you're not the first one. He was like, I've seen a few ladies come and go, and they're coming to see him. Mm-hmm. And then while we're smoking, he was like, matter of fact, look right there. Like, they're picking up somebody else right now. And it was the same tracker that I was in, that was in the hotel behind us, picking up someone else.
Wow.
Yes.
So did you wind up going home the next day?
Yes, I wound up going home the next day. I texted him. I told him, because I have a son. I was like, I'm about to go home.
You said he asked you about.
Yeah, he did ask me about my. Yeah, he did ask me if I had a child or whatever, and I told him. He asked me about my son's father and our relationship, and I told him about that, and then that was pretty much it.
So, present day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. These stories are coming out about girls. Many girls in houses, and they're not really allowed to do certain things. They have to ask him to do certain things, and in this moment you're thinking probably like, hold up, like I had some part in some of this, like I was there, I seen some of this. So where's your mind, where's your perspective when this story comes out?
When I first heard the story, as far as like the girls being held captive and they can't have their cell phone, and I'm like, I seen it, you know what I mean? And then being as though the girl mother picked her up, like hearing the story made it even, more weird, because I'm like, okay, I've actually seen, it wasn't a secret that the girl's mom was picking her up, so he seemed okay with it.
And how old did she look?
She looked around 18, 19.
Okay. So
yeah, she looked like a young girl, and that was it. But it's a weird situation, because I'm like, I was there, I saw it, and are they being held captive? I don't think so.
Yeah.
My opinion, I don't think so.
Right.
But when I think back about it, after hearing the story about him, and when I think back about it, and he was like, I'm gonna show you how daddy likes it, this, that, and the third, and me walking back and forth, and blase, blase. As far
did it feel like an audition?
It did, in a way. Yes, it did.
Because how you're explaining it and how you're describing it to me, it honestly sounds like an audition.
Right.
Like, let me see you walk.
Yes.
Let me show you how I like it, so I can see if you're capable of doing it.
Yes.
And then I'm asking you questions about your son or your child. I'm asking you questions about, your life, because are you able to be here? Are you not?
Right.
In retrospect, did it feel like an audition?
It did.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just weird. And when I heard the part of the story about him telling the girls like basically sex slaves, he's teaching them how he likes it. That part I definitely believe.
Oh yeah.
Just from that experience and everything he wanted me to do to him, and him saying to me, I'm going to show you how I like it, don't worry about it, me walking back and forth, I totally believe that part of the story.
Right. And so when we think about things like hostages and like sex slaves and all this stuff, I think that people get a little confused when we're saying like, oh, they're being held hostage, because it is very possible that they can leave. You said you saw the young girl leave, her
Right.
mom picked her up, but I think part of it is also like manipulation. You know, he's a man of power, he's an older man, and these are young girls who people are saying like he's preying on them because he can help them with their music careers, or he can make their life different and things like that. So you know, now that we're here and you know you kind of witnessed this, and you know, girlfriend probably looked like she was well taken care of, she, you know, whatever.
Right.
But the things that are interesting is she told you she couldn't just give you the cigar. She said you need to ask him. She was just A-okay with you being her sister.
Right.
Like it was, right? Like
Right.
y'all aren't related, and you guys are now sisters, and you both are referring to him as daddy. Like this is just, it's
Right.
an interesting situation.
Right.
Granted, it doesn't prove that anything is wrong, but it definitely raises some red flags.
Right.
Right. So how do you feel now hearing all the stories? It's not shocking to you, is it?
It's not. It's not. It wasn't shocking at all. But just like you just said, like he manipulates him. I mean, I was 25 at the time, and I did everything he asked me to do. So I can
imagine being
18, 19.
17,
Yes.
15,
Yes.
Aaliyah.
Yes. Exactly.
You know? So you were a grown woman, and you went along with it.
I went along with every step of the way that
Yeah.
he asked me to do. And I don't think, if he asked me to do anything else, honestly speaking, I don't think I would have said no.
Because you're in a position of,
I'm meeting R. Kelly.
yes, you're here, and it's, you know, there's, you are able to say no, but it's
Right.
also, he flew me here, I'm here, like, you know, it kind of sets a standard.
Exactly.
So, well, you know, I'm so thankful that you told your story, because I think that no matter whatever comes out of this, I think it's really important that people hear your side of it, because like you said, like you just went along with it because you were in that situation. Now imagine being a 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old girl who maybe wants to be a singer.
Exactly.
You know, and then she's in this situation and not really, you know, and a lot of those girls might think that they're the only one. Meanwhile, trackers are picking up girls from different locations, you know. So thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm curious to know, like, you know, young girls who are out at these concerts and they're, you know, they're you know, they're out here. They're like, oh my gosh, this person, and they're starstruck and they're excited. Yes. I'm curious to know, like, your perspective now. As in, like, would you recommend getting into a situation like that, or would you be like, listen, you have to be very careful? Like, what are your thoughts on young girls now going to these shows and the possibility of something like this happening?
Well, me personally, I've always been a boring person. I never win anything. I never go anywhere. I've always worked. That's all I've ever done. And having that come about, it was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe, like, this is a once in a lifetime chance. Like, I'm so into it. So, like, now that I think back about it now, would I ever do that again? No. So, like, to young girls who go to concerts and meet celebrities, it's more so starstruck, it's money, I can have whatever I want. Trust me, it's not going to be that experience.
Yeah.
It's not that experience at all.
And I'm glad you said that, because when you say, like, you never won anything, or you don't come from, like, all that money and things like that, I think that is a part of the power that R. Kelly possesses. And you are one of the lucky ones.
Right.
Like, do you feel like that? Do you feel like you're one of the lucky ones? Because you were like, I'm about to be up out of here.
I do, because I would say, if anything, my son saved that entire situation. Because if I didn't have him, I would have no reason to go back home. I would have stayed as long as he wanted me to. And I even had a job and everything.
But you would have stayed?
I would have stayed.
Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, seriously, your story is, it's important. It's very important, especially, like, as mothers, you know, and as a mother, for me, like, I have 2 daughters. It's a very important story to tell, because it is very easy to get grass is greener syndrome and be like, oh, it's probably amazing over there. Meanwhile, you have no idea what's going on behind closed doors.
You don't. And it's like some of the young girls who go to the concerts and meet these guys, like you have to realize, like at the end of the day, he's still a regular dude. And you can have sex with him, but you telling people that you had sex with him doesn't mean they're going to believe you. So at that point, he's just somebody else that you just had sex with. And
having sex with everybody else too.
Exactly. And that's how I look at it now. I mean, there's a few that probably get lucky and marry off or whatever, to become their girlfriend or whatever the case may be, but it's very slim.
Yeah.
It's very slim. So,
yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah.